determined, because for each and every one of you will do one, if not all five of these things. And these are the reasons why you're not getting in and learning the game or really being a student of it. You know, a lot of people ask the question, you know, do I have what it takes to learn game? Do I have the fortitude, or do I have the makeup to be able to cross the street and not only be successful with women because they're the perk, but also be successful with oneself? And what I want to talk about today, that's very important to understand why many will come and only few will be able to enter and come into what is known the game. And I will just talk about four things, of a million things, but these are probably the top four things of why most individuals out there will never get to the point of what they want as far as game. Now, I could add a fifth one, but I guess I will add a fifth one because I think I'll add that one first. I think the number one thing when it comes to this, and why most won't make it in this, is because they think it's impossible. And what I mean about the impossible is because the mind has already, you know, because they're, you know, we talk about the theaters, because they're already in theater, number one, the mind has already got them set to think that there's no way that you can make it because you're too short, too skinny, or too ugly, or you have marks on your face, or you're in a wheelchair, or you lost an arm, you lost a leg, you have an eye patch on, or what have you. And the mind will make that individual look at his perception and believe what the mind tells him he's supposed to see of himself. So one of the biggest, I would say this is probably the biggest one, is the man that doesn't believe it can happen. There are a lot of people that say, well, it can't happen to a guy like me, and that's not true. And, you know, you guys always say you can change everybody, but you can't change a guy like me. And he's absolutely right. We can't change a person that doesn't want to be changed. In order for change, one must be open. I remember I was 9 years old. I had to be open. I had to push aside whatever. I didn't have an ego at 9. I was 9 years old, so I probably had a little canary or something, or a hawk. What's a dangerous bird that's small? I don't know, but I had to push whatever it is aside. And it wasn't a thought of I could or I couldn't. It was a thought of what it is I need to learn. So for a lot of people out there, they will automatically self-sabotage themselves because they don't believe it's true, because not only it's not happening to them, but it's happening to other people. But we'll get to that in a little while. But a lot of guys, just because it's not real to you doesn't mean it's not real. And a lot of people don't understand that. A lot of people will always say that it cannot be done. There's no way I can do it. And what can you teach me? I know you can't teach me. And as soon as that person is thinking like that, that's an unteachable student. You see, the thing about the student of a game, you must be teachable. And to be teachable, one must submit, as far as not submission as like kissing the ring, but he must submit his thoughts, his mind, and his behaviors to want to grow and evolve by someone who has more game than he has. So that's probably number one. The next thing that people have is that they rush into it. And what I mean by rushing into it, they want to move fast. There are people out there that will skip courses. They, everything we learned as young kids is chronological order, 1, 2, 3, A, B, C. A lot of guys will skip the 1, the 2, the 3, the 4 and jump to the 6, the 7, the 8 because they think by jumping ahead, they don't need to learn the other things. And that kind of goes back to the 36 chambers that I tell every guy to watch, because that's important. Something I'm going to be discussing also in the book, but something that you need to watch to get more clarity of what we're trying to show you guys. But a lot of guys don't understand that, you know, in order to get this down, one must not rush. You can't rush this because in order to really truly fix you, we've got to turn and work on and get rid of all the bad wiring. So rushing it's one of the biggest problems. Everybody, because we're in the microwave society, everybody wants it fast, quick, right now. I need to get it right here, right now, and it's got to be tomorrow type thinking. This is why most people will never learn the game, because the process takes nothing but patience and discipline. Very huge things in that. Another thing that also hurts people, I guess, would be number 3, is that they're always constantly worried and thinking about other men. They're constantly worried, thinking about judging or comparing themselves to other men, meaning that the individual will say that, okay, because it didn't happen to this guy over here, then that means it's not going to happen to me. Or basically, because it didn't happen to a guy on Jupiter, it's not going to happen for me. And one thing I always teach you guys is I try to show you not to ever compare yourself to another man because of your fingerprint. You are the only one of your kind. And unless you do everything like the person you're comparing yourself to, and I mean everything from birth all the way up to the point of you knowing that person, you can't make that assumption that just because it's not working for him, it's not going to work for you. But because, again, this is the mind working as well. The mind will do everything it can to make somebody feel like, you know what, it's not going to happen. And again, it's the insecurities a lot of guys have. It's the lack of confidence, the fears and all these other things to look at somebody else doing it. A lot of people want to see somebody else doing it to feel that, okay, if that guy can do it, I can do it. And that's not the case. I never ever, when I was doing this, I never ever sat around and thought about anybody else but myself. Even when I was before I even learned game, I never thought about the next man. I never actually thought that it was even a thought to think about somebody else other than me, which is just, it's not weird, but it's just really different. But always thinking about another man, using men in statements and all this other stuff. It shows that you're not necessarily focused on yourself, and your behaviors are always going to stick out when you're asking about other men, thinking about other men, using somebody else's situation to say this can happen to me. And that's, I don't even know which one could be the worst one out of the ones I said, but that is really huge. Always comparing yourself to another man or trying to live up to another man's standard is not going to make you a student of the game. It's really not even going to get you in the door at all. Another number 4 thing that a lot of guys do is they always do what they want to do and versus what needs to be done. I always tell you guys about the Cheeseburger Incident. When I was in the car with my mentor, and he went to McDonald's, and he was like, he came back out, he cussed me out, told me, sit your bitch ass down. He talked all kind of crazy to me. He came out of McDonald's and he said, go buy a cheeseburger, motherfucker. That's how he talked to me. So I was a student and shit. And, I didn't ask any questions. If he told me to do something, I would do it because I know that he has my best interest and he's not going to lead me anywhere. Now, sure, I didn't understand, but the one thing that I learned in that was never to question my mentor Now I could ask questions, but I couldn't question what he's saying because he knows more than what I know, and what he sees more down the line than I did at that time. Now he told me to go get a cheeseburger, and the thing was, it was never about the cheeseburger. And what was great about that, he had my attention focused on a cheeseburger, which was great, a great lesson, because just like most of you guys, if you go into a burger joint, you're focused on getting the burger, but you don't know about the woman that's either behind the counter or the woman sitting there. So it was a great experience, and I pulled one of the fine ones in there. She was so fine, the managers was trying to smash her and stuff. So, but one of the biggest problems is doing what you want to do. And I've always said, really, and it's not a knock on doing what you want to do, but how can you be a student doing it your way when your way is not on the level of the person that you're trying to learn from? You know, I've always said that that's me trying to be that's me saying, okay, forget about either being a lawyer, or forget about being a doctor or a surgeon, or forget about learning from a plane pilot, how to fly a plane. I'll just watch some YouTubes and do it myself. And it just doesn't work that way. But it's a huge problem. But it's also something that the mind does. The mind will make you do everything wrong because it is always trying to sabotage you from learning what it is. So doing what you want to do versus what needs to be done is again, it's really hard to determine the number one. So I'm just going to name these off, but it's really hard to determine because for each and every one of you will do one, if not all five of these things. And these are the reasons why you're not getting in and learning the game or really being a student of it. But hey, last but not least, but what can be also number one? I mean, all of these are number ones, but you know, we just name as five. The other one is bird watching. I never understood somebody wanting to do something and just sit there and just watch not only women go by, but watch life go by. You know, it's one thing I always say, you know, I am the only one on YouTube that says this, but there is something I say on YouTube that, you know, at the end of every show that we always do, I always tell you guys to think about the graveyard. And the reason why I tell you to think about the graveyard is because everybody in the graveyard truly had one thing in common, and that is they thought they had tomorrow coming to them. And I learned at a young age that I'm going to live every day like it's my last. Even after we do this, it's my last. I lived. I'm fine. Don't mourn me. Just cremate me and send me in space so some blue chick or some orange alien can reincarnate my ass, or I can go smash all the alien chicks. But no, it's the bird watching that hurts a lot of people. It's really watching from your seat and thinking that watching from your seat. Now, again, there's a lot of perceptions in the watch. People can watch women, people watch other guys, or people do everything. The horses are moving. I'm sorry, the horses are running in the background. They'll do everything but do the right thing as far as watch themselves do the behavior. Bird watching, again, it's up there. I mean, all these are number one. It's really hard to really determine, but bird watching is one of the big ones as well, because all you're doing is sitting and just watching life go by. You're sitting watching women go by. You sit and watch other men interact with women, and then you determine off their interactions that this woman is either or she ain't this or she's not that, based off of an interaction with someone else. What I learned at a young age is that just because A does it to B doesn't mean A is going to do it to C, meaning that I can never determine what a woman is based off of her interaction with another guy. I'm always going to determine what a woman is based off of how I put my bid in. That's all I can do, because at the end of the day, I want to make it about me. And as long as I make it about me, that's part of being a student of the game. And I'm always looking for the long haul, and I'm not trying to rush. I'm never worrying about the next man, because like I've always told you before, I just don't care about people enough to even worry about the next man, because I'm too busy worrying about me. As far as doing what I want to do, I've always, as long as I have a mentor, I'm always evolving, because your mentor is going to know more than you. and to soak up, or have the privilege to be able to soak up the information, and then from that point to just do the information without bird watching is just totally amazing. But it's really cool when you have those situations. And I think a lot of people out there just don't realize that everybody wants to get into this club. Everybody wants to be a man. Everybody wants to win. But like I said before, you know, law zero of everything. Everybody can't make it in here. But it's not the fact that you can't make it in here. It's the fact that you choose not to want to be in here by the 5 things that I talked about. And gentlemen, and if you're actually honest with yourself, you will be able to determine that you are one, if not all 5 of these things, to realize, why am I getting older and yet I'm not learning anything? And why am I struggling? And why am I not having the success of those that follow, who don't rush, who don't think about other men, who don't do what they want to do? They follow instructions. They don't make excuses or feel like they don't have a shot. And they don't bird watch. They're always in action. It's 2 totally different things. But at the end of the day, that's why we call it a man mindset. It's your mindset. It's nobody else's mindset but yours. But it's something that you have to see. You have to determine for yourself. Once you determine for yourself, you'll see it. But until you can knock off these things, you're never going to get into the club that, I'm telling you, when you cross over, it's the most beautiful thing. But you've just got to be able to trust yourself, trust your mentor, and trust that the information that you're getting is going to help you. But sometimes the greatest enemy is not women, it's not us, it's you and how you think about yourself. So think about those 5 things and ask yourself, do I have any of these 5 things? And if you do have those 5 things, then you will understand why it is you're not getting into the club.